Welcome to another episode of Marketing Matters with Christie Welch. Today she's going to be looking at the 2022 National Farmers Market Week. That's going to be August 7th through the 13th of this year. So stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Matters with Christie Welch. Christie is a direct marketing specialist with the Ohio State University Extension Program. And Christie, we have an exciting program that's coming up in a week or two.
Yeah, it's very exciting, Patrick. Thank you for having me here again today. And I wanted to come on and share information about National Farmers Market Week. We are in the 23rd year of celebrating farmers markets across the country. And it's always the first full week of August, so it will run August the 7th through the 13th of 2022. And so I just wanted to share all the exciting things that are happening.
Well, the first thing that I would like to say is, if you're viewing this video after the 13th of August, you can still glean a lot of information from the different programs and different discussions that we have. So we encourage you to continue watching the show. It's my understanding this is the 23rd year that the Farmers Market Week is being put on?
That's correct, Patrick. And so there's lots that has happened over the last 23 years, and it tends to grow every year. And so we're very excited. The lead of the celebration for National Farmers Market Week is Farmers Market Coalition, which is a national nonprofit that works to help support farmers markets around the country. And they just recently announced an exciting event this year. This will actually be the first International Farmers Market Week. And so the World Farmers Market Coalition has come on board, and we will be celebrating farmers markets around the world.
You know, Christie, I have found that farmers markets have grown. I know that you jumped aboard the farmers markets a number of years ago, and you were highly successful in helping different communities develop farmers markets. I didn't realize how large of an entity they are.
They are. In the last 2 decades, they've really kind of exploded throughout the country. And of course, it was very interesting during the pandemic, when lots of things were shut down, how critical farmers markets were as a food access point for a lot of individuals. Most of them are held outside, so individuals felt safe and secure in going and purchasing the local food, which they've come to love and demand. And so I think the pandemic that is really shined a highlight on the value that farmers markets bring to our communities. And so markets, again, they don't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes into that. But we encourage you again to get out this week of August 7th through the 13th and visit your local farmers markets.
Well, I know that Wanda has the green thumb in the family, and she, from seed, has grown small cherry tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And they are the delicious tomatoes I have ever had. Yep. And I would imagine that homegrown, not just in tomatoes, but in all kinds of produce, is very good.
It really is, Patrick, and I think that again speaks to how valuable farmers markets can be. So typically when you go to a farmers market to purchase local food, it comes directly from the farm to the farmers market, usually within 24 hours or less. So you're getting locally produced foods that are fresh, that are picked ripe, and then are made accessible to you in a very short amount of time. So think about shortening the supply chain. Farmers markets are really good at that. And so when you have high quality product and you are able to consume it at its peak freshness and ripeness, it does definitely make a difference.
I know that most individuals sort of think of one or two or three different produce products, but farmer markets can have a lot of different kinds of produce, fruits, different things of that nature.
Absolutely, Patrick. So typically, I think when consumers think about farmers markets, the first thing we think about are the locally produced tomatoes and sweet corn and those things that we love. But we have a lot of protein producers, so beef, pork, poultry. We have dairy producers that sell through farmers market, maple syrups, jams and jellies, cottage foods, baked goods. The list just really goes on and on and on. And so I think that markets are doing a better job at diversifying their offerings at their farmers market, which makes it, again, more convenient for shoppers to go to those farmers markets. And as I say, farmers markets don't just happen. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes on behind the scenes of every successful farmer's market. And so one of those things to offer those diversifications and wide variety of products is, how is that market managed to make sure that the offerings that customers are looking for are available at that farmer's market? I will tell you, there is a team or an individual who is very dedicated to the success of that particular farmer's market, and they work year-round. They don't just work on Saturday mornings or Wednesday afternoons or whenever that market is. They spend a tremendous amount of time making sure that that market is able to be successful. And here in Ohio, we have nearly 300 farmers markets, which is quite a few when you think about how large our state is. And if you would like to visit one of your farmers markets that's close to you, you can visit kx.osu.edu/food system tool. So the OSU Knowledge Exchange, we worked with them to develop a map of farmers markets throughout Ohio so that it's easy for you to find the market that is close to you.
It sounds like to be successful in the farmers market, not only do you have to grow quality food, but you also have to be a business owner.
Absolutely, and that's the other thing that I love about farmers markets is they're really business incubators. So, working with small businesses throughout your career, how difficult it can be to start a small business. One of the benefits of farmers markets is that they can invest very little capital typically. They don't have to have a brick and mortar building. They can get their product out to market relatively quickly. They need a tent, table, insurance, and their product. And then they can get that direct feedback from their customers about how they like the product, what other things could I do to improve, what other offerings I might be able to provide to you. And so it is a really great way for businesses to get started, grow their customer base at the local level, and we've got a number of businesses that started selling at farmers markets that are now moved into brick and mortar stores and become very important to that community.
Are there special laws, certificates, requirements to sell at a farmer's market?
Absolutely. So there are regulations in Ohio on what you can and cannot sell at a farmer's market. And there are two entities in Ohio that kind of regulate those food safety and sales. And that is the Ohio Department of Agriculture's Division of Food Safety. And so you would want to go there and make sure that you understand what their regulations on. So you can sell any food item at a farmer's market if it is produced properly. And so when we talk about things like fresh tomatoes, again, fresh unprocessed produce you can sell at a farmer's market without any inspection by anybody. But if you want to take those same tomatoes and either turn those into fresh salsa or if you want to turn those into a canned salsa that's shelf stable, you can do that, but you have to do those things in an inspected facility. So again, the Department of Agriculture's Division of Food Safety, you would need to check with them, as well as your local health department, to make sure that you are processing that product in the proper manner. Because let's face it, we all want to provide safe food to our customers. And so just again, to make sure that we are following those rules that are put in place is very important.
What about items that we would probably need? Let's suppose I'm selling cheese or milk products, and I need to have a refrigerator of some sort. Is there electricity there?
So that's a great question, Patrick. Now, some farmers markets have the ability to provide electric to their vendors. Those that don't, usually the vendors will use a generator.
Oh, okay.
And of course, any item that needs to be temperature controlled, either kept hot at the proper temperature or cold, like a dairy item, at the proper temperature, you need to go to your local health department and get a mobile retail food establishment license, and they will tell you what you need to be able then to sell your product at a farmer's market.
And I'm assuming that also goes to if I'm trying to sell certain meats.
Absolutely. So meats, again, have to be processed properly, so they have to be processed in an inspected facility. And then you still need that mobile retail food establishment license from your local health department where you reside, and they will tell you whether a cooler with ice packs is allowable or whether you need mechanical refrigeration. Same is true for eggs, shell eggs.
So let's suppose that there's a community that starts a farmer's market. What do? They just sort of come together and say, Saturday we're going to start this. What tends to be the process of starting a farmer's market?
That's a great question, Patrick, and many times we don't understand the amount of work that goes into starting farmers markets. And of course, in my position, I get questions quite often about starting a farmers market in a community. And so we always have the discussion about what's the mission of wanting to have a farmers market in your community. And then the second question I typically ask is, do you have producers that will commit to come to your farmers market? Some of the challenges with starting a new farmers market now is that we have so many around the state, we really don't have enough producers to go around, especially farmers, the ones that produce the fresh produce, meats, dairies, those kinds of items. And so to really think through where your producers are going to come from is very important. Because consumers, when they go to shop at the farmer's market, they want abundance. They want diversity. And so if a consumer shows up, let's say you start a new farmer's market and you've got 3 vendors there and not a lot of offerings, consumers might think to themselves, that wasn't really worth my time. I may not want to go back. And so it does take a lot of planning. I encourage those that want to start a market in their community to start at least a year in advance. And now's a perfect time. Visit as many farmers markets in your region as possible. And you can do that during National Farmers Market Week. Find out what's working with markets, what makes them successful. Talk to the manager, talk to the vendors, find out why they go to that particular farmers market. Try to observe the types of customers that are shopping at that market. And so it really goes back to knowing who your customer is and your target audience to make any business successful, Patrick.
In farmer markets, I'm assuming it's purely cash.
Great.
But are there other ways individuals can purchase? And those that are on limited income, do you encourage them to go there?
Absolutely, Patrick. So that's another great question. And so they are not strictly cash. Many vendors that sell at farmers markets now have a smartphone, just like the rest of us, and they can take debit and credit card payments right with their smartphone. And as far as increasing access for the citizens of Ohio that are insecure, farmers markets have done a tremendous job. We have well over 100 farmers markets in Ohio that accept SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance benefits. We also have markets around the state that offer incentives. So let's say I am a SNAP shopper. I go to the market tent. I will say I want $20 worth of tokens to shop at the farmer's market, and you use that like a cash or an alternative currency. And then some of those markets that participate in incentive programs, they'll match your $20 with another $10 that you can spend on fresh fruits and vegetables. So markets are very aware of food insecurity and are doing all that they can to help make sure that everybody has access to food. And of course, in 2021, markets around the country redeemed over $100 million in food nutrition benefits throughout this country.
That is a lot of money.
And that's money that's going directly to our local food producers, so it's staying in your local community.
It sounds like farmer markets are community programs that really benefit not just their customers, but the community itself.
They really do. They really serve as hubs for communities. So it's an area where all different walks from the community can come together, develop relationships, interact, have access to fresh and healthy food. Many markets across the country and throughout Ohio have education programs that happen at their market. Many of them have a passion for teaching children about healthy food, so they'll have cooking demonstrations and healthy recipes. And even I was at a market in Cincinnati a number of years ago. They had their zucchini derby at their market to get kids involved too. So it's really limitless what we can do to engage our community through the farmers market and build some of those community relationships, not just business to business, but many markets also have a tent that is dedicated to have a community nonprofit come to the market weekly to share information about their services for the community, and those rotate throughout the season. And so I just can't say enough about them. I think you can tell I love farmers markets, huh, Patrick?
Yes. Are farmer markets open year-round?
Surprisingly, you would think in Ohio that they're not, but they are in Ohio.
Oh.
And so as our growers adopt more season extension techniques like high tunnels and greenhouse production and different things like that, we have a number of farmers markets here in Ohio that run year-round. And we have some that are in a parking lot where they are during the summer, during the winter out there in the cold, so that their customers can have that access to the local food they've come to know and love.
I have heard of auctions, produce auctions. How are they different from farmer markets?
So a produce auction, and there are a number of those around the state here in Ohio as well now too, more than a dozen if my memory serves me correctly. And so the difference is when you take your produce to an auction, it goes through a bidding process. So the buyers walk along with the auctioneer and he auctions off that product, and then it's taken out the door by the buyer. And so you don't really have the opportunity to develop that relationship with your buyer, although if you regularly sell at the auction, those relationships will develop over time, but you have really no control over the price you get for your product. So if you take tomatoes to the auction on a day when there's lots of other folks with tomatoes, you just don't really know who's going to be there to buy and what kind of a price you're going to get. The nice thing again with the farmers market is a producer can understand what their cost of production is and then price accordingly to make sure that they are profitable in their business.
So at auctions, it's usually larger companies that buy more in bulk. Is that
More in
correct?
bulk, yes, that's correct. So instead of buying 1 or 2 cantaloupe, you would buy a bin, a big bin
okay.
that's 3 foot tall, and
okay.
you would buy a whole bin of cantaloupe. And you have to pay attention where you're going to the auction too. That lot might be 10 bins of cantaloupe, so you have to know what you're bidding on when you purchase at an auction.
So let's suppose that I have a small farm, maybe 40 acres, of which I plant 10 acres of corn and some strawberries and things of that nature. Do you suggest I get involved with farmer markets or try to sell to local food stores?
So that really depends on the individual producer and what might work for them, Patrick. And so that's a question that I would encourage every farmer to think through on their own. I will tell you that a lot of farmers, especially in the produce world, they'll sell at farmers market. They might have a market on their farm where we have what we call a farm market. They might have a roadside stand, which is something that they set up on a particular road at a given time. But many of our successful producers do a combination of those things. And so it really depends on who their target customer is and how they want access to that product. So as a producer, I might sell at the farmer's market. I might sell from my farm, and then I might sell to my local grocery store as well. Really is up to the producer to think through what resources they have, what capacity they have to serve those different markets, and how profitable it is.
So what is the normal size of a farm, or is it very difficult to say?
It's really difficult to say. There are, all different size of farms that sell at farmers markets. I will say for new and beginning and small farmers, farmers market is probably the go-to to get them started and up and running and develop that customer base, which then helps them grow their business and get larger.
I see.
But we did, from some work that was done in 2020, found that producers of farms that sold local food directly to the consumer were more likely than all U.S. farms to be female and age 34 or younger. And so direct marketing of produce has been a great opportunity to help diversify the types of farmers we have throughout the country and to encourage new and beginning farmers to come on board.
So in Ohio, you said there were over 300. Is there a map or something that I can go to that would allow me to sort of look at where the farmer markets are?
Great question, Patrick. And so here is a picture of Ohio with all the little red apples that you see on your screen are different farmers markets throughout our state. And so again, you can go to the link there at the bottom of the screen, click on that link, and it will help you find farmers markets that are located near you.
Huh. And I noticed that in the Northeast, there's a lot of farmer markets. I didn't realize that they were a major producer of foods.
Yes, they are. And so if you stop and think about it, Patrick, where are our customers? They tend to be in those more urban areas where we have more people. And so you can look at Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, Cleveland, and Toledo. And there's a higher concentration typically of farmers markets in those areas. Now, that's not to say that all the farmers are located there. I might be farming in a rural county, but take my produce into one of those urban areas, again, because I have more access to more people to enjoy my product.
Do the Amish also participate in farmer markets?
They certainly do. So again, it goes back to that individual producer and what works for them, but absolutely we have many of the Plain community that participate in farmers markets throughout Ohio.
Huh. I find that interesting. So if I wanted to start a farmer's market, what are several pieces of advice you would give to me?
Again, great question. Take the opportunity during National Farmers Market Week, August 7th through the 13th of 2022. Visit as many farmers markets as you can. Look at how they do things. What seems to work for them? What does their customer base look like? What types of vendors do they have? And then think about your community where you're wanting to start your market and what the opportunities might be there. Do you have sufficient numbers of individuals that will regularly shop at the farmers market to make it feasible for farmers and vendors to come there? And that's the thing I think as consumers sometimes we forget. Many farmers that sell at farmers markets do so because that's how they make their living. And so to make sure that we have that regular support of shoppers coming to purchase the products that our local farmers produce is very important to the success of a farmers market.
So how can I register to participate in the upcoming training program?
Well, we don't have a training program at the moment, but again, we are celebrating National Farmers Market Week, and American Farmland Trust has a celebration right now where they're looking for the best farmers markets throughout the country. So if you go to the American Farmland Trust website that you see here, you can vote on the farmers market that you shop at, that you enjoy the most, and they have over $10,000 worth of prizes that they'll be giving away this year. So just a way to shout out to your local farmers market, help them understand that you appreciate them and love what the work that they are doing.
Are there training programs that are also attached to the website?
So our website, at the South Centers, our direct marketing website, we do a lot of different training programs for farmers markets, and they can find information there. At the national level, Farmers Market Coalition has wonderful resources to assist farmers markets from all different types of things. They just released a anti-discrimination toolkit for farmers markets throughout the country. They have resources on how to accept supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits at your farmers market. The list just really goes on and on. And so that's a great organization, again, at the national level. Here in Ohio, we have the Ohio Farmers Market Network, and that is our state association for farmers markets here in Ohio. They have many resources and many trainings as well that you can go become a member of that organization, whether you're a market manager or whether you're an individual producer. They have membership at both levels. They have an annual conference for farmers markets here in Ohio. They have a farmers market manager's certificate program. Again, as I mentioned, farmers markets don't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes into them. So there's just some great resources available. And if you're having trouble finding answers to the questions you're seeking, feel free to send me an email, and I would be happy to get back with you and get you the resources you're looking for.
When is the program again, Christie?
Well, thanks for asking, Patrick. Again, National Farmers Market Week, and this year, International Farmers Market Week for the first time, August the 7th through the 13th of 2022. So get out and visit your favorite farmers market here in Ohio or around the globe.
Hey, we're talking with Christie Welch. Christie Welch is the direct marketing specialist with the Ohio State University Extension Program. Christie, thank you. I always enjoy your program.
Thank you, Patrick. It's great to be here.